We're back. We're going to keep coming back, and you're going to keep watching, hopefully. This week, week 7.
Week 7.
Week 7. Doing the week 7 record predictions. Feeling live, feeling active, full of energy today, ready to really get started. And starting off, we have what might be the game of the week. The Detroit Football Lions heading on up to Baltimore to face off against the Ravens. 5-1 versus 4-2. Quality quarterbacks on both sides. Meaningful offensive weapons, if they're healthy, on both sides, and defensive secondaries, which are admittedly better than expected. It's going to be a good game. I'm giving this one to the Lions. One, they got the better record. Two, I think they've got a better line that's not really disputable. The Lions' offensive line might be better than the Eagles. And three, Ravens beat up once again. Their defense is not going to be able to hang with the Lions' offense. I'm sure Lamar's going to score some points. Zay Flowers is going to get active. Odell might get active. Mark Andrews, who knows? Whatever running back they signed off the practice squad probably puts up 50 yards on 9 carries or something like that. But I got the Lions' offense. Goff's better. Campbell's better. The weapons better. Jahmyr Gibbs' usage better. And they're just going to handle their business. Go on to 6-1 for the first time in a very long time for Detroit.
Well, despite what Isaiah would like you to think, and despite what many people around the NFL would like you to think, and in spite of all the injuries the Ravens have suffered on the defensive side of the ball, their defense is still a top 5 scoring defense this season, and they're still they have the second fewest yards allowed this season per game, so their defense has been solid. But with that being said, between both teams, outside of the Lions' Week 1 victory against the Chiefs, which you know what we say, especially what I say about Week 1, it doesn't matter. Neither of these teams have really been tested yet, so I am really excited to see how this game turns out. I think the Ravens' offense is slightly more explosive with Lamar Jackson if their receivers catch passes, so I'm going to go against Isaiah. I'm picking the Ravens to win that one.
Week 1 absolutely counts. There are teams which are going to miss the playoffs because they lost in Week 1. Somewhat unserious on you, but tell us what game you want to talk about first, or rather what game I gave you to talk about first.
Next up, we have the Raiders headed to Chicago. Tyson Bagent. Come on, you can pay attention to this one. This is an exciting game. You don't need to fall asleep while I'm talking about this masterclass of a game we're going to watch.
First off, we're not going to watch it. We're going to catch bits and pieces of an IFL Red Zone.
You are right about that one. We have Aiden O'Connell, it sounds like, is going to start in this game. I don't know who's going to wind up playing for the Raiders. Devontae Adams is angry, and I think he's going to be the difference maker in this game. He's been talking about being frustrated with not getting the ball. I think the Raiders have more offensive talent than the Bears do. I don't know if the Bears are going to be able to get DJ Moore the ball. Roshan Johnson will hopefully be back in that backfield, but I'm picking the Raiders. I shouldn't have even taken that much time on it.
Tyler Bagent, masterclass inbound. 400 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Shows the entire league that maybe it wasn't the weapons, or maybe it wasn't the play calling or the offensive line holding a certain someone back. Bagent masterclass. Easy Chicago win, taking themselves out of the race from Marvin Harrison Jr. On to a more interesting game. The Cleveland Browns, with a rattled team somewhat injured, but still red hot, coming off upsetting the undefeated 49ers, heading on over to face the Indianapolis Colts. And the Gardner Minshew hype has died down. I think he's still a fine quarterback, but he struggled mightily last week. No Richardson for the rest of the year. They're going to have to settle into their new normal. Some would say, hey, let's pull the plug, tank, get a better player, do some things with our young quarterback next year. No one in that Indianapolis building is doing that. They are going for this win, and I think they're actually going to upset Cleveland, get the win at home. Minshew plays surprisingly well, better than he did last week. The weapons show up, and I think that really is the difference maker. I don't know what the quarterback situation is for Cleveland, but I think if Deshaun comes back and it's not 100%, or at least it's 1% we've seen him in Cleveland, that's really going to hinder them. So I'm going Colts.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Colts win, only because if the Browns' defense doesn't show up, I think the Colts have the better offense. But with that being said, the Browns' defense has been historic this season. So if they are at least 90%, 100% against Gardner Minshew, he's a solid quarterback, but he's nothing special. I think the Browns will probably win, but I see a path to victory if the defense has an off game. Next up, you're just giving me the exciting matchups in this one. We got the Buffalo Bills headed to New England. Mac Jones is a disaster now. He's no longer a functioning quarterback under Bill Belichick. The Bills, they had a rough game last week against the Giants. They should win, but it's a division rival coming off a rough game against the Giants. You never know, but I am picking them to win.
Complaining about the games I gave you. I just talked about the Colts, the Browns. Now I got to talk about the Giants and Commanders. No one wants to talk about the Giants and Commanders. I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it because the Giants stink. Who knows what the deal is with Daniel Jones? Is he playing this week?
He is questionable.
Questionable.
As is the entirety of their offensive line.
As is your mental health if he does play. Giants can't win anything. They're the worst team in football if Saquon Barkley is not 100%. Scored 9 points last week in a so-called elite Tyrod Taylor performance. It's over. Washington's going to win. This team's got shortcomings, sure, but Sam Howell's clearly better than any quarterback you tried out there. Their offensive line's not great, but it's still better than the Giants. Their weapons are better in totality, and their defensive front seven is clearly better. Washington's winning this one on the road. It's not a debate here. Commanders get a win, advance to above 500, still in that playoff hunt in the NFC. Giants further into mediocrity.
Well, I agree. I expect the Giants to lose. The Commanders have a functioning quarterback, and they have a functioning offense that has put up a lot of points this season. We've seen them score with some teams. Terry McLaurin, still Terry McLaurin. They have Jahan Dotson. They have Curtis Samuel, who's been playing well. Logan Thomas has even been playing well this season, and they're not nearly as injured as the Giants are, so they should win comfortably, but you never know. And now I have the Falcons headed to Tampa Bay. For some reason, Isaiah's beloved Desmond Ridder, who he's really riding, he thinks he's going to be a good quarterback, but they're not going to beat the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are the best team in the NFC South. Mike Evans is healthy, and if you have Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield on the field at the same time, they are going to put up points. I believe in the Buccaneers. They're going to beat the Falcons.
Yeah, they put up a ton of points last week. Desmond Ridder runs a 4.5 He has arm talent, was clearly a project quarterback, and has played 10 games. It is a weird obsession by you and the rest of the NFL media because he has messed up the fantasy value of some of your favorite players to dump on him. Give them 20 games. Give him 20. If he still isn't working out by then, fine, I'll move off him. But to say, he's got no chance of succeeding, you look like a fool. The rest of the NFL media is going to look like a fool too. But hey, I'm used to being right about this.
Stop saying in my fantasy. I don't have one Falcons player
you are
on any of my teams.
invested in Kyle Pitts. You have fallen for the Kyle Pitts trap one too many times, even though he's worse than Johnny Smith.
Don't listen to his fake news.
Give me the Falcons. On to Pittsburgh taking on the Rams. And the Pittsburgh offense, when Kenny Pickett goes off script, is at their most effective. I think they're going to surprise a few people this week and really get after it offensively. 30 points perhaps, somewhere in that territory. Off against the Rams, who Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell. Really, it's honestly Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua now. But I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up. Their O-line's not good. Their defense is lacking. Aaron Donald's a little bit worse than he used to be. And when you're getting triple teamed constantly, losing a step will kill you. So I'm going Pittsburgh, better defensively. Offense, I think, takes a big step forward. Kenny Pickett, that guy. Matthew Stafford, not that guy. Give me the Steelers on the road.
Steelers offense still is not good. They're not nearly as explosive as the Rams offense between Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua now. And the Rams have had it feels like an improved running game outside of the couple seasons they had with Todd Gurley a few years ago. They've been running the ball very effectively this season. So I think the Rams win that one. I believe more in their offense. Their defense has still been middle of the pack to above average this season. So I believe in the Rams to win that one. Next up, we have we have Arizona headed to Seattle. And I don't think Kyler Murray's playing this week. I'm pretty sure it's just Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs. Say it more disrespectfully, why don't you?
Well, if you want to go ahead and make the argument of Josh Dobbs and over Kyler Murray, I'll let you make that argument.
Say just Josh Dobbs, just the astrophysicist beating alopecia and his opponents on the field. Sure, just Josh Dobbs. All right, go ahead.
Anyway, Seattle Seahawks win this one. Kenneth Walker has been very, very, very good this season for fantasy and on the field in real life. DK Metcalf, he's gotten in a few fights with some people. He's gotten more penalties than he should, but he's been very productive this season. Geno Smith has been a little off, but their defense has started to turn a corner. I expect the Seahawks to win. They should beat the Cardinals.
Just for the disrespect, I'm going Josh Dobbs here, solidifying his place as the starter. If you can chip off Kyler Murray for 2 first-round picks, I think you do if you're Arizona, particularly if they're good first-round picks. Wait to see how that all works out. Cardinals, though, getting the dub this week. head on to a high-octane matchup. The Packers heading on up to Denver, Mile High City, to face the Broncos. And we are unmoved by this. The Packers had a bye last week. We didn't have to watch them. America rejoiced. And I think we may be rejoicing still at the Packers' downfall. No Rodgers, no passing offense, no hope, no accuracy. Give me Denver here. That defense, glimpses, sparkles, magnificence at points. At other points, giving up 70, but this week they're going to play well. And Russ, statistically dominant, going to have a good week this week. Packers defense, I'm taking Denver. I'll be honest, I did not think very much about that analysis. Again, this is a game I will not be watching between two bad teams, and I just don't like the Packers, so I'll go Denver.
I don't think the Broncos are going to win this one. This is a game where they make Jordan Love look good. Jordan Love is going to look competent throwing passes against that Broncos secondary, and the Packers are going to walk out of there with a win. I know you love that phrase.
It's more so you used it 17 times. Again, people have buses now, Tristan. It's not the 1800s. They don't have to walk everywhere.
And now we have the Chargers headed to Kansas City, and this is the game that gets Brandon Staley fired. Everyone's talking about, or a lot of people are talking and focusing on how bad the Broncos are and all the mistakes they have made. But the Chargers right now have one more win than the Broncos. They are not far off from being at the bottom of the AFC West. The Raiders have more wins than the Chargers right now. That is how rough they've been this season. And the defense is embarrassing. Their offense is still, I believe, close to top 5 or top 5 in the NFL in yards per game and points per game. Their offense is productive. It's not all on Justin Herbert. It's the fact the defense can't stop anyone. I think this is the game that gets Brandon Staley fired. The Chiefs are going to win. And we're going to see the Chargers fall to, 2-5?
It's 2 and not good. I'll tell you something, Tristan. When you have the inability to perform game-winning drives, doesn't really matter how bad your defense is. 20 points to the Cowboys. A lot of people would take that. But hey, can't be Justin Herbert's fault because we like Justin Herbert and we have double standards about quarterbacks we like. Give me the Chiefs in this one. Not a really controversial pick. They're the better team. They got T. Swift backing them up. The relationship with Travis Kelce appears not to have just been PR. So Kansas City all the way. On to the Monday night game, skipping ahead of the Sunday night football game to something much more interesting and close to my heart. San Francisco 49ers, rattled by injury. The status of Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and Trent Williams, unknown at this point in time. Some of them will play, some of them won't. I'm not saying who. Pretty sure Trent goes back out there, but McCaffrey, not so sure about. Deebo, not so sure about. They're facing the Minnesota Vikings. America will be watching this game, Monday Night Football, between two heavy-hitting franchises in the NFC. And given those injuries, given it's a road game, and given that Kirk Cousins performed so well in primetime, I am confident the Minnesota Vikings pull out a dub here. No Justin Jefferson, no problem. Jordan Addison is very capable of scoring without him. That running game, not necessary. According to PFF, they've got the third best offensive line in football. Some of us who actually watch the games don't really believe that, but let's say PFF's right in this case. Vikings offensive line dominant over Nick Bosa. Kirk Cousins, similar mindset to Nick Bosa. He's not going to be able to get after Kirk due to Kirk's strong Christian values and family lifestyle. That will hinder the pass rush. So for that reason, I am taking the Vikings. No pass rush from the 49ers, injured weapons, much improved Vikings defense. Minnesota advances to 3-4.
To call the 2-win Vikings a heavy-hitting NFC franchise is certainly
How many other franchises in the NFC have made the Super Bowl 4 times?
Have they done it in the last century?
In the last century? Well, Tristan, considering
in
football just turned 100 years old, I'm going to say, yeah, they've probably made the Super Bowl in the last century.
This century.
Should have said this century then.
Same difference. The Vikings have no shot. No injury on the 49ers roster compares to losing Justin Jefferson. Both teams have both their quarterbacks. The Vikings offense without Justin Jefferson is a shell of himself. Kirk Cousins was very good to start the season, has been awful recently, and the 49ers defense is still the 49ers defense. So Isaiah will be wearing the pinwheel hat next week, trying to explain away that loss from his woeful prediction. There's no way the Vikings win. Next up, we have the
Last up.
It is last up. Probably the most exciting game of the week. We have the Dolphins heading to Philadelphia. And if this game was in Miami, I'd pick Miami in a landslide. But playing in that Philadelphia environment, it's starting to get a little cold in October. It may be a little bit more difficult for Miami to air it out. But with that being said, the Eagles' passing defense has not been great this season. The Dolphins have speed for days, and I think they're going to be able to take advantage of that Eagles secondary. I think the Dolphins will win, but if that environment proves too tough, I know I'm sitting on a fence here, but I won't be shocked if the Eagles win.
Very controversial. A team wearing the colors of sort of green will win the game. Controversial, to be honest. Very impressive take, Tristan. I'm giving this one to the Eagles. I don't see them losing back-to-back games to AFC East teams. I don't see them losing at home. And I don't see their quarterback play being as woeful as it was last week, particularly against that Dolphins defense. Jalen Hurts is not that bad of a QB. May have been a bit early inserting him in those top 3 conversations this offseason, but he's not as bad as he has shown recently. Give me the Eagles, bounce back win over the Dolphins, take a little bit of wind out of the tongue below for MVP sales.